Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Perpetual here. If you're new, you're warmly welcome. And thank you so much for joining me today as we head to the market for a quick market run. And then I'm heading home to make some delicious shito. So guys, come along with me and let's get started. When I am not shopping in bulk like today, I head over to Texpo Market and I buy most of my things from there anyway. I have a spice lady there and she sells amazing spices as well as a lot of my shito ingredients, so I usually end up getting it from her. Now, typically when I am shopping for shito from someone that I don't know, I would buy the shrimps and the herrings and go and blend it myself, but I trust this lady, so I end up buying from her. Now guys, I say this because I have heard stories about how people dilute the herrings, especially with anything from kokunte to flour. So typically I like to get it from someone that I know is not mixing it up with anything funny. And today I'm going to be making some chunky shrimp shito. So I'm getting some of the dried shrimps here and I'm going to be using that a little bit later. So after getting my shito ingredients, I ended up getting a few more items just as part of my weekly market run. I try to do my groceries and my market runs once a week now because I find that it helps me save a little bit of money. I don't do extreme bulk shopping just because we're just a family of 4, and I find that when I buy so much, I end up wasting quite a bit. So I buy what we need for the week and I just do it that way. That's what's working for us right now. Of course, that can change, but for now, it's good. And once I leave the market, I am also going to head over to the Temahaba fishing market and I'm going to get some fresh fish. That's where I usually end up getting fish just because it is slightly cheaper. And again, with knowing vendors, I have a few there that I can trust to get fresh seafood from. And now that I'm back home, I have all my ingredients that I need to make my shito, so I'm going to start prepping that. Now guys, before we keep going, if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please be sure to hit on that button right away and turn on your post notifications as well, so that you're among the first to know when I upload more amazing videos. Alright, and since today I'm making chunky shrimp shito, one thing that I'm going to do is rehydrate the shrimps that I bought. So these are dried, but what I like to do is break it into chunks, especially the really large ones. And some of them have sharp ends, so I like to get rid of that. Of course, you can also get rid of the skin, but I like to keep it on. And I'm going to pour some warm water over it and set it aside and continue to prep my other ingredients. When I'm breaking it into pieces, I like to do big chunks so that every time you take a scoop of the shito, you will at least get a little bit of extra shrimp in there. I do prefer the chunky one and my husband as well. My kids typically won't eat shito anyway, so I make it for us so it is spicier, it is chunky, and trust me guys, it is absolutely delicious. Now, of course, you do not have to rehydrate the shrimps to use it. I just like it because it gives a meatier texture as opposed to the really dry shrimp in its original state. So again, it is just a personal preference, but this is how I like it. You can do it however you would like it as well. And then next up, I'm going to cut up my fresh ginger and my garlic, and I'm going to be using the smaller compartment of my blender, the grinder, to actually blend this because it is not a huge amount. And in this case, I get to use less water. I try to use as little water as possible when I am blending these ingredients, especially for shito, because you want to make sure that you've cooked out all the water, and the more water you use, the longer it's gonna take for your shito to cook anyway. And so I'm going to blend it until it is nice and smooth. Now guys, because I have really chunky shrimps going in and my herrings are also not as smooth, I always like to make sure that my ginger, garlic, and onions that I'm blending right now are always really smooth. And now that I've finally prepped a bulk of my ingredients, I'm gonna go ahead and get some oil into my pan. And guys, if you've been following me for a while, you know that I like to prep my ingredients and then start cooking. I just find that it makes my life a lot easier. So anyway, I've just gone ahead to add the onions, and on medium heat, I'm going to let this cook for about 10 minutes. The goal of this step is to get rid of all the water that is in there. You want to cook every little bit of liquid out because you do not want your shito going bad, especially if you're not going to store it in the fridge. And then after about 10 to 15 minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and add my ginger and garlic paste. As you can tell, I managed to get it quite thick, so it will not take as long to get all the water out. Now guys, typically shito is not stored in the fridge because if you cook it well, it will last for a really long time without going bad. But I still prefer to keep mine in the fridge and just take a bit of it and warm it when I am ready to eat. And after about another 10 minutes, now that I can tell that a bulk of the water has come out, I am gonna go ahead and add a few tablespoons of tomato paste, and I'm going to stir it really well so that it gets nice and incorporated into my onion, ginger, and garlic mix here. And I'm going to let this cook for another 5 to 10 minutes. I am not making such a huge amount of shito, so it is not going to take as long for my ingredients to cook down. But of course, if you're making a big batch, it will take longer. And now guys, I've just gone ahead to add my spice mix. Now for shito, I like to use a little bit of nutmeg, some efomwisa and esruwisa, some pepper or cloves, some printia and kitinkiti or anise seeds, and I also like to put some bay leaves in there. And I always add a bit of seasoning cube or tablet. In this case, I'm using 1 tablet for the amount that I'm making. Of course, like I always say, you can use more or less. And after a few minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and add my dried herrings in there. And as you can tell guys, it is not smooth. I intentionally got the chunky ones just so that there is some texture to the shito even without my chunky shrimp. And I'm going ahead to add my dried shrimps, the blended one as well. And I'm going to give it a quick stir and lower the heat and allow this to incorporate into the base. And after a few minutes, I'm gonna go ahead and put my rehydrated shrimps into my shito. What I did was I drained the shrimp and left it in the sieve so that all the water, or at least a bulk of it, comes out, so that when I put it into the shito, I don't have to wait so long because of the water content. And then I'm going ahead to add my powdered pepper or cayenne pepper, and I'm going to give it a stir. Now guys, when it comes to the level of spice in your shito, it is what you can tolerate. So I like to always advise that you start small and then you keep adding when you taste it, because once you add a lot of it, you cannot take it out. So if you realized I ended up leaving a little bit of my pepper, I tasted it and actually ended up adding it back in because I needed a little bit more spice. And after a few minutes on low heat, guys, our shito is really ready. It can be served. You can add more oil if you'd like, especially if you're storing it outside the fridge, but mine is gonna go into the fridge anyway, and I try to put as little or cook with as little oil as possible. So I'm going to leave mine at this consistency because it's going in the fridge as well. But if you're putting it just in your pantry, be sure to add more oil as it helps preserve it. Of course, when I've gone to the fish market and I have fresh fish, I have to fry some when I've made a fresh batch of shito. So today we're having it with some pepper and some kinky and of course my fish. So my pepper is ready, and of course my chunky shrimp shito as well, with a side of some onions, tomatoes, and green pepper, and of course my cassava fish, fried nice and golden and crispy. It was absolutely delicious. My loves, lunch is served, and of course, you're invited. And guys, you know the drill. If you liked this video, please be sure to give me a thumbs up. And remember to tell a friend about my amazing channel. And I will see y'all again very soon. Thank you so much for coming along with me on this delicious journey. Take care, guys. Bye.